Hey everyone, John here, senior software engineer with 10 plus years of experience and helping you to land your first or next programming role. I'm the lead maintainer of the open source educational platform called Latterly. Latterly right in front of us, latterly.io, where you can sign up for free and get access to this checklist. Helps you build a portfolio, land an interview, pass the interviews, get an offer. So today we are dealing with non-traditional interview round preparation. So here's a traditional interview round: whiteboard, system design, coding problems, DSA, whether it's leak code style DSA or a practical problem style coding question. These are all relatively traditional behavioral interview following the STAR method. These are all traditional round types. A less common one will be a project-based interview. So you'll still get a lot of projects that you have to build. And then what do you do with it? What do you do with it after you build it? Different things can happen. Sometimes you'll do a presentation. Sometimes you'll just send it in and they'll review it and give you a result by email or ghost you or whatever they do. So the project-based building part of it is pretty standard, but what happens after the project is ready can be a non-traditional. You can do some weird things. So it'll be a case-by-case basis. That's this group of non-traditional rounds, is where it doesn't fit neatly into an existing archetype of an interview round. So you might call that post-processing of a project interview. Here's another one that is abnormal. This interview request that I got recently during my job search, which was to a technical knowledge-based interview, where the instructions I was given ahead of time was one sentence: the focus will be on the behavior of JavaScript in the browser. So that's all I was told. It's a technical round where the focus will be on the behavior of JavaScript in the browser. Well, that doesn't sound like a behavioral round. Okay, so I can do process of elimination. So what is this going to be? We're trying to anticipate the round so that we can prep for it. And so in general, interview prep is a search game. Interview preparation is a search problem. So you want to understand what is going to be asked, and then you want to memorize concrete example answers, and if you have time, abstract to general pattern answers, which is more future-proof. Okay, so three-step process. 1, understand the questions that will be asked. 2, know how to answer concrete examples concretely. 3, if possible, abstract. That way you can build robustness and resilience against question changes. So we can have some examples of how JavaScript will behave in the browser, which is just coding questions. I've done a bunch of these. We've all done a bunch of these. So let's assume that I'm prepared for if it's just going to be like a coding problem in JavaScript. But if you listen to the information I was given ahead of time, the focus will be on the behavior of JavaScript in the browser. You'll quickly realize JavaScript does a bunch of weird things, and there are browser-specific things that it does. So JavaScript can be used in the browser and elsewhere. You can use it on a mobile phone. You can use it on the server. And there are API differences. So there are browser-specific APIs, notably the DOM API. And so how do I prepare for this? How do I prepare for this? One thing I could do, I could just create a list of topics that I'm aware of. But the problem is, there's an echo chamber effect. I'm basically studying things I already know. So how do I broaden my horizons? And how do I get away from my own interpretation of ambiguous instruction? I can consult a bunch of experts. So if I have a bunch of friends who are like JavaScript experts, I could do mocks with them. And I could have them read the instruction and see what it means to them. That's one approach. 2 is I can use a language model, which is kind of a stand-in for the human assistants. And that's what will be my general recommendation. So if you realize that interview preparation is a search problem, then you will also be aware that Latterly has existing guidance on search for programming. Because search is applicable in other cases besides interview prep. It's also applicable in case of troubleshooting, debugging, learning new technologies. And so here is, posted on my TikTok, pinned up here, kind of like concise guidance on how to search. And basically there's 7 techniques. I'm not going to play all the way through this, don't worry. I just want to get that picture up on the screen. Okay, so there's basically 7 search strategies, and the top 2 are going to be Google and AI search. So you can just Google search your company if you want to prepare for them. And if they do an abnormal round, it's a very smart tactic to check out Glassdoor, to Google them and see what people have reported, even diving into the bowels of Reddit. See what people have reported about their rounds, about the concrete questions asked, and about styles of analysis, what signals are the interviewers looking for, and so on, particularly if a report is coming from someone who passed, right? Okay, so you can do Google and then AI search ChatGPT. And then here's some other things you can do. Official documentation, go to the site. In the context of interview preparation, they will often give you documentation, emails, even website links about how the company conducts their rounds. The more the better. You can read that context yourself. You can also pass it to the LLM to help you understand. In some cases, such as the case I referenced earlier, you don't get a bunch of documentation. You just get one sentence, okay? So that would be the official documentation in this case. It's just one sentence. Sometimes that's how it is. And so there's other options. There's other options. The focus of today will be that AI search. Do feel free to do a Google search for the company. I don't want to disclose the company or do that exercise now. I want to focus on the rubber duck technique. Okay, and then how does this compare to Latterly's standard advice? So Latterly's standard advice for traditional rounds includes the LeetCode kata, which is a memorization-based approach. And then once you memorize some base problems and various patterns, you can abstract the patterns and learn the patterns themselves. So it's pattern-oriented as a second step, but it's a kata or memorization-based approach as the first step. And so really what I'm telling you here is an application of Latterly principles, including the Latterly kata and the Latterly search guidelines applied to an unknown round shape. That's what I'm trying to drive home. So we are going to do something similar to the kata, except that we are going to have to derive the questions instead of use these LeetCode questions, because I'm not doing a LeetCode round. So LeetCode doesn't help me. But I'm going to basically build a list of questions and answer them over and over, and then hopefully abstract to some principle. So you can see we're using the existing kata pattern and the existing Latterly search guidance, but we're applying it to a new problem context, which is an ambiguous or undefined round type. Paul, thank you for the follow. Shrek says, I thought that said literally LeetCode. That would be funny. That would be funny. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. It literally says something else. Okay. So yeah, latterly.io, check it out. You can get this, like, join the community. People can help you. AI tool for the AI application checklist. Everything that we're talking about is encapsulated in the website, and you can sign up for free. Also, if you have things to add, please do. It's open source. Submit a pull request. This is my guidance. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. So I'm helping those who I'm able to help, but I'm sure that there are some people out there who have additional tips that I've missed. And please do pull request the repository to spread your knowledge and multiply across the world. And let's get everybody coding, huh? Let's get everyone a coding job. That's the point of latterly.io. How much better would the world be if people had the income that US software engineers had? You know, I'm not saying everyone should be a software engineer, but if you want to have the income that a software engineer has, kind of the obvious path would be to software engineer. And so I don't want to go on a rabbit trail. There is a whole thing about, like, try it. If you don't like it, you can branch into other families and, like, explore related families like product manager and stuff. But I'll not get into that now. So the suggestion of software engineering is an intelligent default in my perspective. It's not an absolute thing. It's just like a default. Okay. So I've given you all this context. I think I've spent 10 minutes on the context. Maybe that's not too much. Maybe that's appropriate. So now we're going to Claude. Claude's Sonnet model 3.5. This is, to my knowledge, the best model on the market today. In the future, it will not be. So the general advice is not to always use Claude. Claude is going to work for, July, August, September of 2024. But the general advice is find the best model that you can reasonably get to. GPT-4o, another great choice. You can also run this question set across multiple models to get different perspectives. And that's a really, really good technique, actually. so that you are, just like you don't want to subject yourself to your own echo chamber, you also don't want to subject yourself to a single model echo chamber. So you can run through these questions in your own head. You can chat with Claude. You can chat with GPT-4. And now you've done it 3 ways. And so you've kind of broken each of those echo chambers. And you can always construct some superset like, okay, there's a 3-way echo chamber, whatever. The point is that that will solve a lot of problems that you would miss if you just picked one. You're never going to solve all the problems. Hate to break it to you. So preparation is a search problem. And if you think about the diminishing returns from search, search your own brain, search Claude, search GPT-4, there are diminishing returns to this, just as there are with any search process. You can spend a lot of time searching. You never get to perfect knowledge, like we're humans. So the point is not to get to perfect knowledge or perfect preparedness. The point is just do a damn good job with the time and resources that you have, right? We're doing what we can. Thoughts on Claude? I love me some Claude. It's my go-to. There are some cases where I'll still go to GPT-4. Claude doesn't have image generation. But in July of 2024, Claude has been my go-to. Okay. So literally, this is what I told Claude. Literally, I have a technical interview round coming up. I was given a terse summary of expectations. So if you have more data, give it more data. Give it the context that you have. And now I'm saying create a list of topics that might be assessed. Okay. It gave me 5. I asked specifically for 5. And then I added some that I was anticipating. Okay. I added these. And then I said, is there anything else of note? And so we end up with this list of 15. And now what I'm going to do together with you, you're going to see me perform this in real time, is go from topics to questions. Then the other thing that I'll do is I will check out jsisweird.com. Okay. So this is stepping outside of the large language model, but it's an example of how I would prepare for something ambiguous like this. And how did I find this site? Google. So it goes back to our search techniques once again. You could come up with a bunch of websites. There was like a Reddit article that I just closed, but like there were Reddit articles talking about like weird topics in JavaScript. I particularly like this site. It's actually kind of fun to me. And it really highlights how ridiculous JavaScript can get in some edge cases. Okay, so let's go through these one at a time. We'll do maybe 3 questions. 3 to 5. So we're not going to do like on your own time. You could do multiple questions on each of these topics, like if you had more time. I'm not going to take up the whole stream doing that. So yeah, 3 to 5 seems good. That would be like 20-30% coverage. I would encourage you to get over 100% coverage on your own time. You could also maybe eliminate some of these topics, like how much do we care about TypeScript if this was the prompt? But the truth is maybe you do. Like if someone told you this, they may well ask you about TypeScript. Yeah, that would be technically out of step with the prompt, but you know how interviews are. Better to over prepare than to under prepare. Okay, create a random question related to one of these topics. I do not give the answer. I will try to provide an answer. Then you can grade me and provide feedback afterwards. Drop a comment in the chat if you have any comments, questions. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much. Hope you'll follow the page. If you think the video so far has been interesting, follow the page, share it with a friend, throw a like on it so that the YouTube or TikTok algorithm will send it around. If you're here from LinkedIn, thank you so much for being here. Okay. So here's a question related to one of the topics. What is the purpose of use callback hook in React, and in what scenarios would you use it? See, this is a great question. Oh man, I hope I don't follow this. It's a good question though. This is absolutely an interesting case of JavaScript use in the browser. Okay, so use callback hook. I believe it's because I want to re-render a component. I believe it's because I want to re-render a component. So what scenarios would you typically use it? I think we want to use callback when I don't want to re-render a component by default. I only want to re-render it conditionally. So essentially, it's like a cache busting technique, basically. All right, let's see if I got that right. I like to use callback when I want to conditionally re-render a React component as opposed to re-rendering the component by default, which is the default behavior in React. So use callback can be used to essentially break a cache on the memoized form of a component. A case where I would use this would be if I have like a large, pretty static component. A case where I would use this would be a case where I have a large static component that does not frequently change, or it only changes under some condition. For example, if I have a paginated page of user profiles, I may know ahead of time that the profile list, we'll write it as a component, profile list component should not re-render unless a particular API endpoint is called. So that would be my condition. Let's see how I did. I might have just failed horribly. Grade C, all right, we are not passing. You correctly mentioned that use callback is related to optimization and conditional re-rendering. Hey, you touched on the concept of memoization, which is relevant to use callback. Nice. Oh, but I got the main thing wrong. It's used to memoize callback functions to, okay, hold on. The primary purpose of use callback is not to conditionally re-render components or break caches. It's used to memoize callback functions to prevent unnecessary recreations. Memoize callback functions. Hopefully it gives me an example of this. Is more suited for memo. Yeah, I think I mixed up memo and callback. That's on me. You're right, Claude, you're right. React's default behavior is not to always re-render components. React is quite efficient and only re-renders when state or props change. That is true. That is true. I was sloppy when I said that. Yeah, that's true. Function versus component. It memoizes functions, not components. Okay. Cool. Like a handler. Nice. That would be a use case. So I'm going to memoize. Awesome. Okay, let's do another one. But you can see how, hey, good thing that this came up now rather than in my interview, right? Thanks for the follow. Great. Thank you. Please select a new random question related to our topics, and I will attempt to answer. Explain the concept of the shadow DOM. What problem does it solve, and how does it relate to web components? The shadow DOM is an in-memory data structure that declares the state of a document which is not presently rendered. Okay, so that's what the shadow DOM is. What problem does it solve? The problem it solves is a performance problem. By holding a shadow DOM in memory, many adjustments to the DOM can be rapidly calculated, and a single physical update or to the page, to the literal HTML, can be done one time at the end, which is much more efficient than many literal updates to the page. In addition, this provides a better user experience because the page does not rapidly change many times. That, I feel like I'm not saying that well. Does not change many times in short order. Yeah, does not change many times in short order. The shadow DOM may go through combinations that are not intended for final render. But a physical rendering approach would show them to the user, which could cause unpleasant experiences like UI shift or flashes of undesirable content. I know I got better than a C. I know I got better than, oh, come on, C minus, get out of here. The shadow DOM is not an in-memory data structure. Oh, you're killing me. Your answer shows some understanding. Let's see. I've mixed it up with the virtual DOM. Well, yes. Because I thought they were synonyms. React shadow DOM. Attach shadow. Oh, okay. So shadow is now part of the actual HTML DOM API. When did this get added? Since 2020. Okay, well, there you go. So my info is dated. Cool. Whenever I talk about the shadow DOM, I am talking about the in-memory version used by libraries like React and others. Okay, cool. So shadow DOM is in the HTML spec itself now. Okay, well, this is a big difference. So it's saying that it's not in memory at all. It is physically recalculated. So it's just as slow as the actual DOM. but the user doesn't see it. Let's see. Does the user see? Let's see. Shadow DOM allows you to keep an element's features private so they can be scripted and styled without fear of collision with other parts of the document. Does the user see a component rendered as part of the shadow DOM? So it's encapsulated, but is it visible? Okay. So it's encapsulated but visible. Okay, so that's really, really different than the virtual DOM. Worm Dance, what website did you use for that quiz? This is Claude.ai by Anthropic. Anthropic, feel free to sponsor me. I love you guys. Mini Cheddar's Bag, do you have any tips on finding willpower to study for interviews in the evening after 9 to 6? Ooh, okay. Willpower, this is an interesting one. So the first past answer is I don't have a general trick. I don't have a general trick. That's the first past answer. The second past answer is I have a bunch of tricks that apply to various personality types and various individuals in various situations. So this is the importance of personalization. So you can book a call and we can personalize to you. You might want to do something like a Big 5 personality test. And then you can do your Google searches and your chats with Claude and apply your search techniques. So you can answer your question through application of the search techniques. Make sure that you search for answers specific to your person, tailored to you, personalized. So doing something like a Big 5 personality test is going to help you a whole lot. I can give you some things that I do. I mean, for me, so one question will be like, how much of a motivator is money? So I recently, back in May, was laid off and I was on the job search and I was highly motivated because there's a big gap between unemployed and 400 grand a year. So that's a motivator for me, but is that a motivator for you? It's going to depend on your personality. I would say for most people, that's a strong motivator, but then I don't know your current income, right? So your personal situation, are you employed? Are you unemployed? Are you looking at going from 0 to 300K? Or are you looking at going from 200 to 220K, which is like a much smaller, like almost like basically insignificant gap. All these things are going to play onto the motivation. You can do social tricks. So social motivation is powerful. So you can learn in public, build in public, teach in public. So join latterly.io. So we have social emotional learning is a thing that has been studied and it's generally effective. Okay, so it's going to be better, stronger for some people, weaker for others. If you're antisocial, it doesn't work as well. But most people are neutral to relatively pro-social. So for most people, social emotional learning will work. And so you can get an accountability partner or a peer student and have like learning sessions. Latterly recently had small groups. They're not active, but you can go get on a wait list if you want. And these were effective. We got people jobs. Okay, so you can go to settings and you can say that you're interested in an expert-led small group. And so, yeah, like peer effects were a big part of that. That was part of the thesis, and I think it worked out. Okay, so social effects, money. Besides money, there could be like non-monetary benefits that could be incentives. So you can give yourself treats. One thing that is trendy these days is the idea of a sweet treat. So you give yourself a goal. It could be a small goal. I will do a LeetCode code problem. And if I do this LeetCode code problem, I give myself permission to DoorDash a sweet treat, right? So small goals and self-rewards, self-affirmations. Right, so goals and rewards, like gamifying it a bit. What else? Then there's just stuff like keeping your health in check and your nutrition in check. One of the reasons people often have low motivation in the evening is because they're tired. We get tired, right? You could do something like caffeine. You could do something like that, although I don't encourage caffeine in the evening. But maybe you have caffeine with lunch and it sort of lasts and gives you a little extra boost in the evening. So caffeine would be an option like supplementation. But in the main, when it comes to health and nutrition, I'm talking about getting a good night's sleep. Go into the gym regularly. And don't overexert at the gym. That'll obviously make you tired, and you could take days to recover. But doing light exercise at the gym can actually perk you up. Rather than spend you. So, and then like eating a balanced diet, getting plenty of water, electrolytes, creatine has neurological benefits in addition to like helping your muscles and whatnot. Creatine's good stuff. So those would be some of the tips that I have, Mini Cheddars. Thanks for the question. Thank you for being here. If you found that to be valuable, tap the like button. Let's do one more question and we'll move on to the JS is weird. Explore the concept of signals. And I totally don't know the answer here. I will give my best guess on this. Signals are similar to observables that were defined in previous generation frameworks. They are similar in supporting a pub sub or publish and subscribe pattern to reactive programming. Okay. A component may broadcast a signal and many listeners can reactively react, as they see fit. It's pretty much my answer. How does this differ from traditional state management? This reactive approach differs to traditional state management. Let's define traditional state management in two ways. Do I want to go one or two ways? So there's the easy case, which is like the super old approach to state management, which is like a global object that's mutable. Okay. And then we improved on that with immutable objects like Redux, using stores like Redux. And signals are really different than both of these. Yeah. So let's define. Here are three approaches. Let's do four. Here are four traditional approaches to state management. One, a global object, which is mutable. An immutable store, as in Redux. Three, state in services. State encapsulated in a service. And you can do dependency injection. And you can do push-based. And then four would be server-side state, or state maintained on the request object on a user session, as opposed to within client components. In contrast to all of these, signals can be broadcast from a component and listened to by other components, which do not need to explicitly import or inject any service besides general ambient signal listening. closer to an observable pattern than the other approaches. Come on, I need better than a C, baby. B minus, I'll take it. Redux gross. Okay, I'll take a B minus. That'll be a good note to end on. Your answer shows a good understanding of some aspects of signals and state management. Yo, my dog is going crazy. You made some valid comparisons, and also you got a bunch of stuff wrong, huh? Okay. You correctly related signals to observables in reactive programming. Nice. Your explanation of traditional state management approaches is generally accurate. Nice. You correctly noted that signals involve reactivity. Redundant, but I'll take it. TikTok genius, what's the original prompt for grading your answers? I'll quickly scroll back through this, okay? So I said, let's generate some topics. And this approach can also be called shadowboxing or LLM shadowboxing. And you can do mock interviews with a language model. So here we've been focusing on non-traditional round types, but you can also do traditional round types. You can ask Claude to give you a system design question, and it can actually view your Excalidraw. You can take a snapshot of Excalidraw, paste it over here. You can ask it to give you a DSA. You can ask it to give you a behavioral round. So this general pattern, which I highly, highly recommend, is a LLM mock interview or LLM shadowboxing. Who is calling me from Arlington, Texas? I don't recognize that. Not going to drop a stream for that. Not going to drop a stream for that. Sorry. Okay. So this was how I TikTok genius, to answer your question. This was how I came up with topics. And then I said, create a random question related to one of these topics. Do not give the answer. I will try to provide an answer. Then you can grade me and provide feedback afterwards. So that was the original prompt for grading. If you found that helpful, throw a like on the video. Okay. Areas for improvement. Definition of signals. Signals are more specific than general observables. Yes, they are. They are reactive primitives that hold a value over time. Yes, they are. Automatically tracking dependencies and updating dependents when the values change. Okay, I mean, fine. Do they track dependencies? So the reason that I didn't go into further depth is because I think there are different implementations of signals, like SvelteKit signals versus signals in the DOM. Do signals exist in the DOM these days? So there's Angular signals, there's SvelteKit signals, and then the JavaScript signal standard proposal. Did this ever get merged? So I'm going to double check with Claude because I'm not sure that this sort of signal tracks dependencies. I think it's one way. I think it's a watch pattern. Let's see if it lets me push back or if it's like, you're wrong. Let's see. You're correct that there are variations in how signals are implemented. My previous explanation was too generalized. Let's break it down. I'm not interested in Svelte stores. SvelteKit signal. Oh, solid signals on spelt. Okay. Or runes. This is what I was thinking of. Sup, friend? Hope your day's going well. Thanks to the bean. They don't automatically track dependencies. Let's go. So give me a B, not a B minus. Give me a B. And so I'm like trying to cope over here. He's gonna be like, you still have a B minus, you idiot. Oh, a B plus. Let's go. Yo, are you in college? No, I graduated with a PhD in, what was it, 2021? Or even before that? So, no, I'm not still in college. Cool, that was fun. Let's do some JS is Weird, and we'll time box this to 10 minutes. JSisWeird.com. So these are some of the weird things. These are not restricted to the browser. JavaScript can do these weird things in the node runtime and elsewhere. So true plus false. Dude, I don't know what it is. Is it true, false? I think it's not NaN. I don't expect that it's 1. I don't expect a syntax error. Let's go true, false. Did I get that right? I don't know. It's not going to tell me to the end. Great. I'm a freshman going to college this year for CS. You think it's worth it? Yes, I do, but I don't have to think because there is data, return on investment to college degree by field. Engineering and computer science have the highest median return exceeding 13%. Okay. So data, baby. The job market is horrible right now. Yeah, here's the huge mistake everyone is making. The job market is horrible, therefore I shouldn't become an engineer. Bro, the job market is horrible across job families and industries. So your job is to pick the best investment, not to avoid any occupation because the market is bad. So your job is to make an optimal return on investment. And 13% is super normal return compared to taking your money and sticking in an S&P index, for example. Now, there are things which can be done that have a higher expected return than this. But this is darn good, and it's also relatively low risk. So I think you're scaring yourself with this idea of the market is bad, and so it's creating like a risk aversion reaction. But the truth is that the college degree is low risk compared to the general field of things you can do with time and money. Not risk-free at all. But compared to a boot camp, which would have a much higher estimated ROI to the cash-on-cash return, but it's way riskier. It's way riskier unless you get a job guarantee. And that is one of the things that Latterly would recommend. If you go back, sign up to the website, check out the free checklist. So we're going to talk about a substantive web development program. Click into what that is. And right beside the college degree, I do recommend a prestigious boot camp, not the average boot camp, a prestigious boot camp. And I've done a bunch of streams on what this means. But one of the things that this means is job search guarantees are awesome. So we go to browse schools, we go to all schools. The prestige role, we want to sort by the most reviewed, okay? And go from minimum of 400 reviews, 3.25 rating or higher, okay? And then we're going to look through these and we're going to look for a job search guarantee. And so Springboard is consistently a high ranker here, guarantees job. So this will reduce your risk. It will reduce your risk. Now, does that mean that Springboard is better than college? No, that's not what it means. But you can consider it, and then you'll want to personalize it to you. Are you qualifying for college scholarships? When you talk about college, which university, right? So the data that we saw earlier, this 13%, is going to be, I don't know where the URL went, but the 13% would be across universities. You're going to get more specific labor market outcomes when you pick a particular university. Okay, so the ROI to Princeton is not 13%. And then the ROI to Princeton for you will be different depending on your scholarship regime. So if you can get a full ride to Princeton, bro, go. Like, let's cut to the chase. If you can get a full ride, go. Thanks for the question. Thank you for the follow, Lincoln. You should be able to write something basic in Python before going to college IMO. Yeah, I always get queasy around the word should. People say should this, should that. I would say it's possible if you want to. It's possible if you want to. I have no idea how to code. I'm clueless. Yeah, check out the website, sign up, join the Discord. Alex says, choose a simple project, find a YouTube tutorial. Not a bad approach. Not a bad approach. Going to a very small public school, it's a city school with 84% acceptance rate for CS. Right, so they may well have lower than average outcomes. They may well have lower than average outcomes. Okay, we're over here, right? And I'll just shoot through these quickly because I guess it won't let me know the answer until I get to the end of it. So length of this, 0, 1, 2, 3, undefined, 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 undefined. 0, 1, 2, 3, but length is 4. I think it's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't think in JavaScript you can concatenate this way. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think you can. You can do that in Python. I don't know what this is. I'm going to guess this, even though I think it's wrong. I think that's false because of float addition 10, 1. I think that's 10.2. Oh, wait, what is the question? What it logs? This might return 10 and then on another, like it might return 2 lines. It might return 10 and 2 on 2 different lines because they're kind of 2 expressions. I'm gonna go with 2, not sure. Not empty. So this will be falsy. So not falsy is true. And so this will be false. This in JavaScript, an empty list is truthy. In Python, an empty list is falsy. So in JavaScript, an empty list is truthy. This would be false. This would be true. And then plus true should convert it to a number. So that should be 1. Parse int. Homie, I don't know. Oh, yeah, this effectively rounds it. True is double equals true. Yeah, it is, because this is truthy. This is truthy. Any non-empty string will be truthy. So this is going to be true. 0, 1, 0. Oh no, this does binary math, does it? When you prefix with a 0. I don't think it's binary math, because how do you get 0, 3? I think it's like 8. Octal math? Is this octal math? I have no idea what the answer is. It's not 7. Let's see, if it's octal math, what would it be? So if this is like base 8, then this is still going to be 3. And so this would be 5. Question number 10. I'm going to keep an eye on this to see if I got the octal math right. That'll be a flex. So I'm going to hit 5, and then I'm just going to spam the top button so we can get to the answers. So question 10, I'm saying 5. Question 10, I'm saying 5. Question 10, where are you at? Let's go. And I got some other stuff wrong. Okay, so what happened? So true. Whoa, this is false. According to the rules of abstract equality. Where's the number here? I'm not getting it. This should be a bool comparison. Huh. Well, there you go. Learn something, right? Both of these values are converted to numbers. Gotta love it. Hey everyone, thanks for being here. What website is this? This was jsisweird.com. Very, very fun if you want to learn about some of the ridiculous intricacies of JavaScript in contrast to other languages. This will be your friend. Thank you so much for being here.